Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm Eric. I just had it too.
You know what's really funny is I was going through all the episodes of season 7, and I was writing down all your different names, and I got to your Mumford.
Yeah. I just had it, and it's gone now.
Eric. Okay, just Eric.
Just Eric, I guess. Shit.
Like just Harry.
Just Harry.
Just Harry. Well, just Harry. You're a loser.
Oh my god.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Dude, silence is blowing up, man.
Is it?
Yeah, it's of the season 7 episodes. According to the YouTube analytics, it's our second most viewed video.
Which means
It has
70.
it has 37.
What?
I think Ikuru has 39.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's what. Listen, you know it's sad when I'm getting excited for double digits. That's a big deal.
Well, I mean, but then again, our Shaun of the Dead has over 2,000 views.
Unreal.
Yeah. Or is it 200,000? I think it's 2,000.
It's 2,000. There's no way it's 200. We'd be rich.
Yeah, we would be able to monetize the YouTube channel and
Probably.
make money off of that.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, no, dude, I was really happy to see that because
Yeah, it's cool, man.
I thought it was a great episode.
I did too.
We were back together, and I don't know, it was a good episode.
It was a good episode. We did really well.
I will say, I am slightly worried about this one though.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, just because.
When did you finish the movie?
Oh, today.
Today. Okay.
So I watched the first hour on Sunday.
Okay.
Ashley and I sorry everyone, I ate and my sandwich is.
Your esophagus is in distress.
It's closing up. No.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I'm gonna die on camera. Sidebar, I've been using your whole. I'm gonna pass away.
I'm gonna pass away.
I'm gonna pass away.
Yeah, I'm about to pass away.
So I watched the first hour last night. Ashley and I were having dinner with her, me, mom, and pa, and but we couldn't stay late, so I only was able to watch the first hour. And then today on my lunch, I watched the last 40 minutes.
Got it.
But yeah, we're talking about On the Waterfront.
On the Waterfront.
Yeah, the only reason why I'm worried about it is just because, as we were kind of mentioning off mic, my only qualm with the movie, which I did enjoy the movie, is the soundtrack due to the editing. It was just so unbelievably loud.
It was very loud. So I watched it last night, the whole thing.
Okay.
We drove in from Sulphur Springs, which is about a 7-hour drive and change. And as soon as we got in the house, I got to go upstairs. It was like 10 o'clock. It was so late. And I was like, I got to watch this movie. I can't, I won't have time tomorrow. So I got to, and I drank coffee on the way.
So you could stay awake.
Yeah.
I bet you regret the coffee as soon as that first like music string hits and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was a little jarring, the music. But it's once you understand that the guy who scored the movie, it was his first non-musical, right? So it makes you understand that why the music is so theatrical and so over the top, not necessarily in volume, which is not their fault.
Yeah, that's due to editing
but just due to the scale of the musical numbers.
Yeah, but I just wanted to bring that up because God, it's like why is the soundtrack so loud?
It's very loud.
It was like when we went and saw what did we see at? It was when we saw Nope in IMAX. It was so loud.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah, it's too loud.
But anyway, so this was the first viewing for the both of us.
Yes.
So what did you think, man?
I thought it was wonderful. I loved it. I think the acting was amazing. I thought the direction was great. Once I learned a little bit more about the backstory and, the filming and all that stuff, it's very interesting because of the subject matter and the plot.
Yeah.
Brando, it's the thing that people go to when you quote Brando.
It was before, we were talking about off mic, it was before his first fall in his career before his career sort of took a dive a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then shout out to our Godfather episode.
Yeah.
Then The Godfather launched him back into the stratosphere.
Of course.
But yeah.
But also not for very long.
Yeah, not for very long because then he fell back down again and didn't get back up.
No.
But yeah, you know, I've always wondered where the famous "I could have been a contender" line came from, and this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. And it was also very interesting for me because I haven't seen a lot of Brando's films besides The Godfather. To actually see him, I mean, yes, he was still probably method acting since he's credited as really bringing method acting to Hollywood.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like he was putting on a performance. It just felt like he was genuinely...
It felt very natural, I agree.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's why it's one of the best. It's one of the best performances. It's one of his best films.
It got him an Academy Award.
Yeah, it sure did.
Because then Godfather was his second.
At the time, he was the youngest person to win.
Yeah.
The best actor.
Yeah, as we were talking about off mic, that it was him for a while.
It was him for a while, then someone else beat him. I don't remember who, and then Adrian Brody beat him for The Pianist.
Nice.
Yeah.
Shout out to Adrian Brody.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if he listens? He's like, oh, thanks, guys.
Oh, thank you, my boys.
Thanks, guys. Comments are like, that's not Adrian Brody. Hey, that's some guy pretending to be Adrian Brody.
It's me in disguise.
Well, you know, we haven't seen you two in the same room together, so
That's true.
Well, buddy, would you like to hit everyone with that little synopsis?
Sure. Okay. Terry is a longshoreman who, in connection with his brother, has ties to the mob connections who run the union for the longshoremen, right? For the dock workers. Things are not great with the relationship between the people who run the union and the workers themselves. Very seldom does everybody get to work every day, right? And so wages are also down. And so obviously morale is down because no one gets to work not everybody gets to work every day. They are trying to support their families, they're trying to survive, and they just can't, right? But also when people speak out against the mob and the union, it doesn't go so well.
Nope.
Which is how the movie opens.
Yeah.
With Terry coaxing his friend up to the roof, and they throw him off the roof for ratting against the mob.
Yeah.
And he then reconnects with a childhood friend. They were childhood friends, right?
Yeah, I think
Or
that's
school friends.
Yeah, I think that's what it's implied.
Because she was going to call it a college run by nuns. And so she's in college. And so they either knew each other in high school or whatever. The sister of
the
Johnny,
guy he helped get killed.
Right. Played by Eva Marie Saint, who is still alive, by the way. She is 98 years old. Oh, my God. And every once in a while is on Turner Classic Movies.
Really?
Yeah, doing interviews and things like that.
That's awesome.
And he is now struggling with his allegiance, right? Because now he's seeing, a really evil side of, the mob, and which he should have already done that. But he's seeing the side of the worker and seeing how bad it is, really through Edie. Edie is helping him see all of that, along with the priest as well. And of course, he's struggling with, do I maintain my loyalty, or do I risk it for the greater good and speak out against the union and the mob? And so slowly he starts to realize when more people start getting killed or hurt or whatever, when they speak out against them, that, this is no way to live. He can't do this anymore, right? Yeah. They have made him something that he hates and that he is ashamed of, right? And so then he goes and speaks out against the mob. He testifies in court against Mr. Friendly, played by Lee J. Cobb, who is unbelievable in this movie.
Shout out to our 12 Finger Men episode.
I mean, he's just brilliant. And he pays a price, but he comes out as a winner at the end, right? Yeah. in uniting the workers against the union bosses, right?
Yeah.
The mob, and that's On the Waterfront.
So like I said, I wanted to surprise you when I brought this up. This has a lot of stuff we've already kind of talked about with, mob ties and stuff in Scorsese movies. Like the mob is fun until it's not.
The mob is fun until it's not. I thought about that last night when we were watching it because Haley was asleep. When I was watching it, I thought about that because I was like, he's doing pretty well up until, I would say, a quarter of the way, maybe a third of the way.
Yeah.
Then it starts to go a little downhill. We're going to talk about this in length later, but I need to get it out there. Elia Kazan, who is the director of the film, the reason why this is so important to know that he directed this film is he testified against his fellow filmmakers and named names during the McCarthy hearings, during the Red Scare.
Yes. Yeah.
And called them out as communists, right?
Now, were they actually communists or was
some were, some weren't. It's sort of like,
well, yeah.
It's all accused. They're witch hunts, right?
Yeah, that's all that.
McCarthyism is witch hunts,
Yeah.
and so he named names, right?
Yeah.
That's a no-no. You don't name names.
Especially, in Hollywood in 1950s.
He uses this film to justify his actions. He uses this film to say, see, this is what the good can do when you name names. When you go against the threat, or you stand up for yourself and you testify, or you rat, you're a canary, right?
Yeah.
It's bullshit, but it's his reasoning. And it won him like fucking 11 Oscars. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. he was just like scoreboard.
Oh, I have a quote.
Oh.
Don't you worry about that.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's important to know going forward because I think that a lot of things in this film are highlighted specifically because of this film, and the reason it ends the way it does is Kazan, right?
Yeah.
Is Elia just saying, see, he's triumphant, by standing up.
Yeah.
And in reality, that didn't happen.
I was just about to say, like, that probably had repercussions for him.
Well, this is based on a true story, sort of.
Uh-huh.
These people are based on real people, and Terry's real life counterpart, was not as successful when he spoke out against the mob union heads. So
Did he get those concrete shoes?
he might have, So I think that Kazan wanting sort of this justification. I don't know if he found this story first or if he was trying to find a story, right? Trying to find a story to fit his personal narrative.
Yeah.
I bet you it's the former. I bet you he just found it and then was like, oh, exactly.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that later. Let's talk about Brando.
Absolutely, dude. He bro. Again, it was so refreshing to see him not try to play, not performing, just, acting, as you said, which I agree with. It feels very natural.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, in Godfather, him playing Don Vito still felt very natural.
Of course.
But he is playing a character. You can tell he's playing Don Vito. And, which next on my list of Brando films to watch is Apocalypse Now.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And, and I've read that even that one, he method act as well.
Of course.
Shaved his head. But I don't know, just something about this performance, I was just like, man, he's killing it.
Yeah.
And of course, all I could think of is all the stories we've heard about Brando, his refusal to learn lines. And
I'm wondering if this was also because I
couldn't find anything that said that he didn't on this film.
I can't imagine him doing that here.
Yeah,
right?
because I read, I didn't read, I counted, I think this was only his 6th movie.
You need confidence for that. You need confidence to be like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Right?
Brando by The Godfather, that makes sense.
Of course.
Coppola, I don't know who you are. I'm not learning these lines.
Like, I'm not gonna. tape it to Duvall's chest. I'm not doing this. You know what I mean? I'm not learning shit. But I think in his early days, you know, like this one, Streetcar Named Desire, One-Eyed Jacks, I think he's sort of learning his lines. I think he hasn't gained that amount of confidence yet. I think an Oscar helps.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But yeah, no, and I don't know, and not to tie it back to Goodfellas again, but like I did feel like we were kind of watching sort of a Henry Hill-esque
that's interesting
character, you know, Terry. But rather than Terry wanting to be a part of this life, it was more like he was sort of welcomed in.
I think that might be the case because you know, his brother was in it.
Yeah, as where Henry
wanted
to be in the mob.
Yeah, I think that he sort of fell into it and didn't see a downside.
Yeah, and was
until
accepted.
Later.
Yeah. And what kind of started for Terry, his seeing the downside is Joey getting killed.
Right.
You know, he was like, I thought they were just going to lean on it.
Right.
Like, and then he even tries to say before Charlie kind of steps in. Charlie's his brother, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, he says like, if you would have just told me, and Charlie's like, oh, hey, hey, he's $50 short. You know.
Yeah.
You know, because I think Charlie knew that if Terry finished that and was like, you know, I wish you would have told me, you know, maybe I could have talked, you know, something.
Or something. Right, exactly.
It probably would have made it worse.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's when Terry's kind of starting to realize, like, maybe, or it's planting the seed.
Yeah, it's planting, because there is doubt starting to form, right? You can see that.
But he still is like, well, you know what, like, you know, like with, I'm trying to remember who it was when he's defending Johnny Friendly. Mm-hmm. Which as soon as they said that was his name, Lee J. Cobb's name, I was like, all I could think of was Johnny Dangerously.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's not what I was thinking.
Shout out to Michael Keaton.
Oh, my God.
But, you know, he's defending him like, no, he used to take me to ball games when I was a kid, you know.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and it's...
I think, you know, he's blinded by the privilege he is gaining from being in this inner circle, right? Because he's getting to work every day.
Yeah,
right?
He's got the cushy job in the loft.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not only is it a cushy job, I think sometimes he does, you know, have to do the hard labor and work on the docks, but he gets to do it every day. Yeah. There's no risk of him not being able to work. There's no risk of him not getting a paycheck, right? It's almost like he's not so in that he gets, you know, a 3-piece suit and count the money.
Right. Like Charlie does.
Right. But he gets comfort and security in knowing that he doesn't have to worry about, you know, day to day.
Well, and I think, and you know, it's almost like that's all he wants. I just want to be able to work. That's all I want to do.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%.
As we learn, he used to be a pro boxer.
Yep.
And
he fucking took a dive too.
And that ruined his career.
Yeah, it's almost, you know, we're getting these ideas and notions that he's never really been a moral or you know, he doesn't, not necessarily immoral, but he's doing what's best for him at the time.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think that he is necessarily looking forward to the future repercussions. Right? I think they said, listen, if you go down in the whatever round, you get paid. You know?
Yeah.
You're like, you got it. Yeah. You know? And even it's not the FBI, who was that?
They're just the crime commission.
I'm
assuming they're just like private investigators.
Either did his research or was there.
Yeah.
At Madison Square Garden when he took that dive and was trying to test him to see, you know, if he actually remembered the fight, or if probably more to see if he felt guilty about throwing it.
Yeah, and he kind of does.
And it was it his brother who convinced him to do that? Because
because it's when which I really want to spend some time on, but it's when Charlie's trying to convince him, you need to do what's best for the union.
Right.
You know, just take the job. all is forgiven, everything will be good.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they start reminiscing on his boxing history.
Right.
And, you know, his brother was like, you know, we should have never gotten you that manager. And he was like, it wasn't the manager, it was you.
Right.
You came to me and you said this isn't your night.
Yeah.
And he was like, I could have torn Winslow apart.
Yeah.
And he was like, but you just came to me and you said this isn't your night.
Yeah.
He was like, and I did it for you. And you could tell that Terry definitely loves his brother, especially with what happens in the very next scene.
Right.
But he kind of calls his brother out on his bullshit.
Well, and, you know, I think in that moment he's finally realizing that, you know, if I were making decisions for myself, I would be something, right?
Yeah,
and there's that speech.
I would be a contender.
Right. I'd be a somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, had he not thrown the fight, beaten Winslow, he probably could have kept going.
Or something, right?
Yeah.
And he never would have gotten, sucked into this longshoreman mobster racketeering shit, right? And it's so interesting to see this sort of duality of him, because he is on one side content and fine.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, he's struggling with this is wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the actions that I am a part of are hurting so many people.
Yeah,
Right. Not so much physically hurting, which of course, yes, but also just financially hurting, right? Emotionally,
yeah.
right? Especially when Joey dies.
Yeah.
You know, the father and the sister are, hurting.
Yeah, and you know, and I love the conversation he has with the priest about, you know, the priest's like, well, what are you gonna do about this?
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna? And he's like, and Terry, even though they give him a lot of shit, Terry is smart.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he's just like, what do you like? You mean telling her? He's like, yeah. Like, well, how? Like, are you gonna tell her? And you know, it's just, I love a character kind of like this. You know, kind of like this sort of, not amoral, but he is in the sort of this ambiguous gray area,
Mm-hmm.
where, again, I think you said it perfectly. One hand, he's content. He's content doing, you know, working with the union, with the mob. But on the other, he's like, well, maybe I should be doing, maybe I should be doing the right thing. And, you know, and I really love a character like that, especially one that's so well written and well played by Brando.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to. You want to talk about Lee J. Cobb for a little bit?
Dude. As we were talking about,
he's a scary guy.
As we were talking about off mic, like, did Lee Cobb get the reputation of he plays a really good angry guy? Because I barely remember half the stuff we talked about in our 12 Angry Men
I
episode.
don't remember those years ago.
But I do remember saying how frustratingly arrogant his character is, because he was juror 3, 4?
Couldn't tell you.
But you know, he was the one who was so argumentative.
Right. He was one of the last to break.
Yeah, and it pissed me off because he was so angry.
Yeah.
And he had no reason to be angry. But this one, you know, the anger was understandable.
Right.
Because again, having done so many mobster movies on the show already, you know, I understood, like, okay, well, he's the boss.
Yeah.
People can't be ratting.
People are infringing upon his power and money.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Lee Cobb plays such a good mob boss.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on 1 second being, you know, when we see him interacting with Terry for the first time, he's like, oh, I love this kid. This kid's great. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
And then immediately when Charlie says how one of the guys is $50 short.
Dude, when he roughs up that guy, it's scary.
Yeah. Because it goes from like, and it's just a simple line, a very, very little kid line, but, you know, gimme.
Yeah.
Gimme.
Gimme.
And he just goes from 0 to 10
Yeah.
and roughs that dude up, slaps him across the face, and it was like, all right, now I've got your money, get the hell out.
Yeah. You don't work here anymore.
You don't work here anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude. It's
Could have been way worse.
Yeah, could have been worse, especially how the movie progresses with him. But I will say, much like mob bosses, he doesn't get his hands dirty a lot.
No.
The only time we see him get his hands dirty is in the final scene. But even then, once Terry's got the drop on him, he calls in his lackeys to help him out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, Lee Cobb was he was so good.
Yeah.
So scary, so threatening, especially and I feel like I've said it before. If not, I'll say it now. It reminds me a lot of Brad Pitt in The Assassination of Jesse James
Okay.
by the coward Robert Ford. You can't say that without saying the entire.
I got to do the whole thing.
You know, when Brad would switch between really evil and really vulnerable. And I think Lee, just like, well, how maybe Brad was channeling Lee, I think he's the scariest when he is so calm. Like when Charlie's pretty much pleading,
Yeah.
like, he's my baby brother. You can't, like, let's just leave him alone.
Yeah.
He's gone. He's not going to rat. And he's calm for a majority of that conversation. And I was just like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit. Like, he's already, like...
Enough has happened in the film where you know what's coming.
Yeah, you know that even though he's calm, you know inside he's like, well, this... If he doesn't do this, we're going to do... You know, and he's already 5 steps ahead of everyone in the room. And that's when I found Johnny to be the most terrifying.
Yeah.
Is when he's that calm.
Yeah.
And again, it's because by this point, you know, we're an hour and 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, yeah. Well, we know what's happening.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, Lee J. Cobb, man, he's got a good face for it.
Yeah.
Right. We've talked about that before, about people having good faces.
Yeah.
He's got a great face for this. He's got a good angry face.
Yeah, and I think it's because he's got so much, not fat, but he's got a lot of weight in his cheeks.
Got a jowl.
Yeah, he's got a good jowl.
And a good chin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, man.
I know.
Dude, and it's so good to have that kind of contrast to Brando, you know, where you have this, you know, both of them have good faces.
Yeah.
Especially Brando at this, I mean, dude's handsome.
Dude's handsome.
And it just made such a good, you know,
Contrast.
contrast. I was almost going to say juxtaposition.
At another word.
Yeah, I was going to say like juxtaposition, but I was like, no, that's not a good one. But yeah, and dude, and how he keeps everyone in line, man.
Yeah.
I will say though, I didn't like his hype man truck, who would just come in and be like, just say the last thing that he said.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just like, dude, that's so annoying. But every mob boss has to have a hype man.
Of course.
Yeah.
Got a hype man.
Gotta have a hype man.
All right. Eva Marie Saint.
Dude. This is another movie you've picked with such a great female lead. With like Limelight. I can't think of that actress.
Claire Bloom.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think Ava Marie Saint was awesome.
Yeah, she is what pulls Terry to sort of to follow his conscience, right? She is his Jiminy Cricket in a way. She is his conscience, right? Because she is the I don't want to say aftermath. She's the what's left over of a tragedy, right? She is the reminder of who these decisions are hurting.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Also with bringing in that priest, there was a real priest that actually did hang out at the shore and on the waterfront. That's the name of the movie.
That's the name of the movie.
And did try to get people to stand up against the mob and the union.
Yeah, and this movie, what I really love what it does is nothing happens to them. I mean, like, threats are made towards Edie and Father Barry, I think.
Oh, look.
I'm 90% certain it's Father
Take your
Barry.
time.
But, you know, threats are made against them, but nothing happens to them. As where, you know, like in again, not to compare another Scorsese movie, but in other, Scorsese movies, those people would have probably ended up dead.
Yeah.
But I feel like that just that this adds to the tension of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie didn't need to rely on Edie dying. And
Right.
anything like that.
I agree.
I think the emotional crutch for Terry was Charlie dying.
Yeah.
So, and I just love that so much. Like, because my first thought when we meet Edie, I knew like, okay, she's probably going to become the love interest.
Right.
And she'll probably die here in about 30 minutes. And she doesn't.
No, yeah.
And I was like, it's so refreshing that in a mob movie, the love interest doesn't die.
Yeah.
And in fact, actually, she tries so hard to, even though she's encouraging Terry to stand up and speak out against these things, she also tries so hard to get him to stop acting so irrationally.
Yeah.
Like when he finds Charlie and he's going to go down to the bar and she's like, no, just come home with me. Just come home. And he's like, nope, I'm going to go kill Johnny now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I love that nothing happened to the priest, especially
Father Barry.
especially after that awesome monologue.
Yeah.
After Dugan.
Good luck.
Duggan. I don't know.
Oh yeah. K.O. Duggan.
Yeah, after he dies, and that awesome monologue about how every murder's a crucifixion, and every and they're like, well, you get back to your church, and this is my church.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and so I love that we had these two morally, light characters that nothing bad happens to.
Yeah.
And again, even though, as we've talked and preached about how amazing Scorsese is, had this been a Scorsese movie, they both would have probably ended up dead.
I agree. Yeah.
And so it was very refreshing that these two characters make it to the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But dude, the chemistry between Edie and Terry.
Yeah, there's the scene where he picks up the glove and he puts it on. That wasn't scripted, and she had actually dropped it, and they thought they were gonna yell cut, and so Brando just put it on, and he liked it. He liked what he called it, a new piece of business with the props, air costume, and he asked them to do it again for the camera, and so that's where that comes from.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And again, it's the chemistry between them. It's
And this was her first film, wasn't it? Because it says introducing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and she kills it. She, because by this point, like I said, I think if this was Brando's 6th film, so he already has a name for himself. Oh yeah, because he's already done Streetcar. So yeah, people know who Marlon Brando is.
Yeah.
And she stands toe to toe with him.
I agree. Yeah.
So well.
Yeah.
I forgot the point I was about to make.
That's okay. That's right. We're singing the praises of Eva Marie Saint. She's phenomenal, and again, still alive, 98, which is crazy.
Yeah, is she the only one from that movie who's still alive?
Probably.
Yeah, because
I can't imagine anybody else.
Because Brando passed away in 2004.
Is that right?
Yes.
I don't know what. Yes. I'll tell you right now. Actually, 2004. That's right. He was 80.
Got him.
Got him.
Well, yeah, because he had become the whale.
Oh my god.
That's what Aronofsky's new movie's about. God, could you imagine?
Oh my god.
But yeah, man, I don't know what else to talk about because the movie was so good.
I know.
And there was things I did want to talk about, but like after the movie completed, I was just like, man. Oh, I know what we can talk about.
Sure.
The end.
Sure.
Because the end is, I was not expecting the end. Truthfully, I did expect Terry to die.
Yes, so did I.
And I expected him to sort of become a martyr.
Yeah.
And I had a suspicion that the longshoreman would eventually stand up, but of course after Terry died and became a martyr, I was not expecting him to survive.
Right.
And have that very triumphant walk
Yeah.
into the warehouse, you know. It's so dope, man.
Yeah.
Especially by this point. So Terry's ratted, which good for him. And funny enough, they're not coming after him, but I think it's because Johnny says like they're pretty much under a microscope right now, so they can't come after him.
But they can go after other things. You know, like they killed all his pigeons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, I thought the little boy and his gang did it.
Maybe. Well, I mean, that's kind of the same thing because they, I mean, by transitive property, I guess.
Well, and none of the other of his friends are talking to him,
right?
Because he ratted,
right?
He's not getting any jobs now.
Nope.
And I love that he pretty much tells Johnny like, yeah, no, I'm proud. Like, yeah, I ratted on you, and I'm proud of it.
Right.
Which again, if Scorsese was directing it, he'd be dead a long time ago. And then this is where we get that fight that I was talking about of Terry had him, and even the longshoremen were like, he's fighting like he used to.
Right.
But then Johnny had to be a little bitch.
Right.
Calling his lackeys. And it's such... So I legitimately thought, I was like, oh, he's dead.
Right.
That's
so
it.
did I.
He's dead. That's it. He's done. Movie's over now. But we get this great final 10 minutes of the dockmen finally being like, you know what? No, we're done listening to you, Johnny.
Yeah.
And they kind of rally Terry to his feet. And yeah, it felt like one shot, but I love the editing of the POV and then seeing how he's wide. It just, the whole sequence is phenomenal. And that's just how we end. You know, we end with him, well, sort of in a way. I mean, I know it's not the exact definition of a martyr, but he sort of, in a way, is a martyr in a way. Yes, he survives, but, he has inspired so much hope in these men that they're like, yeah, you know what? We can do
through
this.
his tragedy.
Correct.
He has. Yeah. I see what you mean.
Yeah. Again, he didn't die, so he's not an actual martyr.
Right.
But yeah, and and the movie ends on such a hopeful note that, because Johnny's out there making these pretty much empty threats because he's been cut off from the powers that be.
Yeah.
Which I love that I didn't know what that was at first until I looked it up. The guy's like, turn off that, and if he calls, I'm not in.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like a time of day, any time. I'm like, what does that mean? Because we hadn't heard anything about that, but Johnny's higher ups or they cut him off.
Yeah.
Because he got ratted on. And and it's so he's
losing control of his
Yeah, man. Such an amazing way to end that movie.
Yeah.
Because again, I was like, Terry's dead.
Which again is interesting because that's not how the story goes, right?
Yeah.
In real life, that's not how it went. In fact, shooting on set on location, Kazan was terrified. He had armed guards.
Really?
Because the mob still ran it.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, it's 1954.
So
Holy shit,
the mob is still in control of that area, and so they were. I mean, he was pretty nervous doing. And so it's funny that he's making a movie about someone going against and winning when in fact that's not what happened at all. Right.
Yeah, which is a good segue to circle back to, because I know you wanted to talk about it. The Red Scare.
Yeah. Naming names.
Welcome back to a history lesson, everyone. I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, I think, in our Chaplin episode. Of course, during when I don't even know his first name, but McCarthy.
Joseph McCarthy.
Yeah, was on a fucking warpath trying to uncover communists living within America. Essentially a modern day Salem witch trial.
Yeah.
And so many people were accused of being communist or communist sympathizers. That's what they did with Chaplin. They branded him a sympathizer,
Right.
which was enough to kick him out of the country.
Of course.
Yeah, man. What a weird time in American history.
I know. Right, because I mean they were so terrified of communism being promoted by the people who are so influential in not only people's living rooms but on the big screen, right?
Yeah.
So take yourself now back. It's 1955.
Okay.
It's the Academy Awards, and On the Waterfront wins 8 Oscars.
Holy shit.
I know. Okay. You ready?
I'm
This
ready.
is a quote from Elia Kazan
Okay.
in his autobiography. It says, after he won Best Picture, after it won Best Picture, Actor, Actress, Director. Okay, those are the big ones that it won.
Okay.
He says,
Was this in his acceptance speech?
no, this is in his autobiography.
Oh, okay.
He said, I was tasting vengeance that night and enjoyed it. On the Waterfront is my story. Every day I worked on that film, I was telling the world where I stood, and my critics can go and fuck themselves.
Nice.
That's what he said. So
Nice.
it's interesting because, obviously he has critics where people, other filmmakers and other people in the industry hated that he's using this film to justify his actions during the McCarthyism and during the hearings, the witch trials, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough because I love the movie, right? Mm-hmm. I like his other stuff, Kazan. If you've seen, I'm trying to think of another like Kazan that you may have heard of. There's a bunch, but sorry. But it's hard to justify that specifically, right?
Uh-huh.
It's hard to justify him going against people that he works with, right?
Yeah.
In the same industry, right? In calling out people's names and getting them blacklisted, right?
Yeah.
And potentially kicked out of the country, right? I mean, that's sort of like that's the big punishment. But really, the smaller, more significant punishment is you can't work anymore, right?
Yeah.
Dalton Trumbo being a really good example of this,
Oh yeah.
right? Where
Didn't Bryan Cranston play him in a movie?
yes, and it was pretty good. He couldn't have his name on Roman Holiday. They put his name on it finally, I think in like 2008. Like, I mean, it took that long to finally get some recognition and credit.
Because again, people were being accused all over the place. He actually wasn't a communist or anything. They just, because more than likely he probably said something that sounded.
It was either that or in his writings, right? In his films, right?
My God. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's enough, right?
Right.
Again, this was a really weird time.
Yeah.
And it's weird to have someone be triumphant.
Yeah.
After he is exactly right when he says that On the Waterfront is my story, right? Because he sees himself as Terry, right?
Yeah.
As being looked down upon for what he thought was the right thing, which was to rid the world of the horrible thing of communism, right? This horrible idea, this horrible ideology, this dangerous precedent of communism.
Yeah.
And it might even go as far as he was terrified of it because of how people presented communism to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And them believing that it would be an epidemic. You know what I mean? Which, I'm sure people live in this country that are communists, right? Today, and you would never know because number one, who cares? Number two, it's not going to affect anybody else around.
Well, and communism is less prevalent now.
Well, of course.
Right. I mean, Russia's communism fell, so.
Right. And so again, weird time
Yeah, very weird time.
Weird time during the Cold War and all this communism shit.
Yeah.
But it's just strange because I didn't know this about Kazan, that he named names, right?
Yeah.
That he ratted, basically. And it's just so bizarre to think about him that way because, again, I'm a fan, right? But it's hard to say he's a great person because he's not for that, right?
Yeah. It's like a...
Because, again, this is sort of like I would say the 21st century, and I hate bringing this up, but I think it's a decent example, is cancel culture is a good 21st century example of this because you don't need a lot of evidence.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
And, of course, during McCarthyism and during the hearings, there was no evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like...
little to no evidence at all.
Exactly. There's a great film about the investigation and workings into taking down McCarthy, called Good Night and Good Luck, directed by George Clooney.
Shout out to George Clooney.
Robert Downey Jr.'s in it.
Nice.
It's great. You don't need to know a lot about it, but you need to know some about that time to not be confused.
Yeah. I remember being in, I think it was like freshman year of high school. I remember being there and learning about all this. I was just like, so weird. Like,
it's weird. It's hard to wrap your head around because it's so bizarre.
Yeah, because it's Americans blaming Americans for the smallest infraction.
I know.
You know, I mean, but then again, it's history repeating itself. You know, the Civil War. You know. Then before that, it was even the actual Salem witch trials, you know, and yeah.
Oh, hold on. There was something about that in here in my screenshots about him hating not Arthur Miller. What's the guy's name?
McCarthy?
No. Oh yeah, it is Arthur Miller. So it says here, On the Waterfront is widely known to be an act of expiation on the part of Elia Kazan for naming names during the Joseph McCarthy hearings, right?
Right.
It is less widely reported that Elia Kazan intended it as a direct attack at his former close friend Arthur Miller, who had been openly critical of Kazan's actions. Specifically, it was a direct response to the play The Crucible.
Really?
So, yeah. So I looked up the word expiation because I didn't know what it was because I'm stupid. And it says expiation is like feeling guilty or grief over your decisions, but that's bullshit because Kazan is like, aha,
yeah,
I was right. You see, and so I don't think that was the right word for that.
Yeah,
because that's not right.
Maybe
because again, the rest of that bit was no, he was attacking, people who criticized him for naming names. Like, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't feel guilty and then, yeah, and then say, aha. But I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but the very little research I had time to do, this was it. This film is so brilliant, and I think that I understand people's criticism of once you know it ruins it, right? Like once you know he's trying to justify his actions, it's sort of weird. But I think that you can separate the art from the artist. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, I mean,
and again, it's hard, right? I feel like Terry because I'm teetering a line of, I understand Kazan was terrified of this threat of communism, and especially during the Cold War, which is an insane time in and of itself, not just for the McCarthy hearings, but just the Cold War itself.
Yeah, in general, yeah.
But then I'm also like, dude, like, what are you ratting on people for? Don't be a snitch.
Well,
it's weird.
I mean,
it's weird.
Not to. I mean, it's kind of like me and my relationship with Kanye West. Like, I think he's an insane human being.
He's insane.
But I love his music.
He's insane.
His music's dope. Say what you will, but Donda is the album he wanted to make, and it's a dope ass album.
Sure.
But
I can't believe we found a way to talk about Kanye in this.
it's because
episode.
I finally actually started listening to my Donda vinyl because I've never actually listened to the album from start to finish. And I was like, damn, it's actually really good.
It's good.
It's really fucking good.
I'll never know. But I again, the movie at face value is brilliant, right? There's
Absolutely.
no denying that.
Absolutely.
There's no denying the brilliance. There's no denying the acting is superb, right?
100%.
The story is great, right?
Yeah.
It's filled with tension and drama and catharsis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eva Marie Saint, she's an angel. But again, it's weird once you look into it more.
Once you're like,
It's weird, right? It's
okay.
very it's bizarre, but I love the film. I think it's brilliant. I think Brando's,
It's Brando at the peak.
peak Brando. Well, one of the peaks.
The first peak of his
Yeah,
career.
first peak Brando.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, before he started. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, before he got weird and then got weirder.
Yep.
But
I think again, the movie's phenomenal. I think it deserves to be talked about the way it is.
100%.
It deserves to be on the tops of all these lists. The music's great. We mentioned the music. It's loud, but it's good.
yeah, it is really good, but yeah.
It is sort of like a theater piece, right? Which explains again why they chose the person they chose.
Yeah.
Because the music plays into the tone of that scene so well that having someone whose background is in musicals really helps in that respect, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole idea of musicals is having the music
Be a character.
right
Yeah.
and work with the little whatever.
Yeah.
Movie's brilliant. I'm glad we did it. And I'll probably see it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to actually watch my Criterion. It was on
It's on
HBO
HBO Max. Yeah.
I guess this is the wrap up.
It is, sorry.
But no, you're all good. No, but yeah, I'll probably definitely rewatch it again because, again, I watched an hour, stopped for about 8 hours.
I thought
and then
about
picked
watching it
back
on the drive.
But
I didn't want it to be on my phone. And I also didn't want
Yeah.
to lose signal because
it gets to a really intense part and you're like, what happened?
right. And I was explaining to Haley because she was just trying to help me out. She's like, you can watch it on the drive and I'll drive longer than we normally do, right?
Y'all split it in
We
half.
split it, yeah. And I was like, that's really nice of you, but I don't want to watch it on my phone. I want to watch it
Yeah.
on a screen. You know what I mean?
Ashley and I have never split the drive when we go to Austin.
No.
I drive us the whole way there. She's driven us before,
Austin's not so bad.
but yeah, that's true.
And we don't split it in half. I want to make that perfectly clear. I drive 4 and some hours, and then she drives the rest. But it's because I don't want to drive through Dallas, and she does that. She likes it.
Why?
That I don't want to drive through Dallas. I don't want to deal with all the traffic and all the all the exits and the turning and the fast cars.
So, I mean, that's how I feel about San Antonio, but I suck it up and do it anyway.
Right.
Anyway. All right, buddy. Well, do you want to know what we're talking about next week?
I would love to. I'm excited because we're gearing up to the end bits
Yeah.
of our lists,
'cause-
and I know you got bangers left. So
Yeah, we got. Yeah, so this will be episode 24.
Jesus Christ.
So that means we got 16 left.
Okay.
And then we have the end of season
series.
series.
That's different.
But yeah. Yeah, man. So, okay.
And you got some, like I'm saying, you got bangers left.
So, if
you're
anyone
holding
was
out.
watching on YouTube, you probably saw me duck down. Because I got really busy at work. Like, I'm talking a full hour rush, like slam packed.
That's very unusual.
I'm also training a new employee right now, so there's only so much she can do.
Yeah.
And so of course I'm like having to juggle some customers because one of my other full timers was on lunch, and so I was just like, shit.
Typical.
And but anyway, so I didn't actually have a chance to sit and look at my list and figure out what I want to do next. But I'm not gonna lie, when I pulled it up, I was like, oh, we're gonna do that one. But then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait.
Wow.
So
You keep holding out on me with the really good ones. You know what I mean? You're saving those for last.
yeah, dog. Mainly because I want to be emotionally ready
Understand.
and mentally ready.
Understood.
Especially when we do Odd Man Out.
Oh, yeah.
Can't
I
wait
forgot
for
you
that
have that one. Or, when we do Silo.
Fuck that.
I'm just kidding. Could you imagine?
That will be your solo episode.
Okay.
But then after looking at it, I know what we're gonna do next week.
Okay, cool.
So next week, we're gonna do The Farewell
Oh, okay.
with Aquafina,
Okay.
and that's the only actor I know. I had heard about this movie, one from the buzz, because everyone said Aquafina did an amazing job.
Yeah, and her popularity was pretty high off Crazy Rich Asians and Shang-Chi. She done that yet?
Well, not yet, but her show Nora from Queens.
That's right.
Because her real name is Nora. But then that's how she got Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Which I'd never seen Crazy Rich Asians or Nora from Queens, but I did see Shang-Chi, and she was hilarious. I was like, wow, she's not as annoying as people say she is. And
I think the only thing I've seen her in was Ocean's 8.
Oh, sorry, I forgot she's in that one.
Yeah.
Sidebar, she's going to be playing Scuttle in the new Little Mermaid movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
But anyway, so this YouTube channel I had kind of stumbled upon years back did a whole kind of like what we do, but over just The Farewell and why he loved it so much. And
It's an interesting concept.
it really is. And we've talked a lot about cultural things on the show before, and so it'll be interesting to.
Where is she from? What nationality is she from? Or where's your family from? She's American,
I think she's Chinese American.
or Chinese. So China. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
because in Ikiru, we had to discuss the cultural significance of them not telling him he has stomach cancer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it feels like that.
Yeah, that her grandmother, and this is all I know from the trailers, that her grandmother is dying, but they're not going to tell her.
Right.
And just the family's there to.
But they want to spend time with her, but not tell her why.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre, but
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, especially coming, our main character, Aquafina, having kind of grown apart from her family, how she deals with it,
Right.
And I've just heard it's just an amazing movie, and of course it's done by our favorite people, A24.
Right.
So that was a sell for me.
Haley might watch this one with me. She might like this one.
I have a feeling she will, because I'm gonna try to get Ashley to watch it with me as well.
I mean, she's going to be down because it's fairly new and it's in English.
well, most of it, I think.
I would assume some of it might be
I think it's
in
probably
Mandarin.
half and half. I think half is Mandarin and half.
Yeah.
Because from the trailer, she speaks English with her with her parents, and then when she's talking to her grandmother, she's speaking Mandarin.
Sorry. I have to tell her every once in a while, I go, hey, I'm going to watch this movie. It's in Russian. Or she'll be like, well, count me up.
It's in Icelandic.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
It's in traditional Icelandic
Yeah.
speech. I don't know what they speak.
It is in sign language. I am so sorry. Again, the tribe.
Oh, hey, that's Coda.
We'll eventually do the tribe.
What's that?
Ukrainian, I think. Ukrainian film, again, I think. And the entire film is in sign language. There are no subtitles. I've talked about it before on the show. You get the story through context clues, through the character's body language, through facial expressions, and of course what they're doing. But it's fascinating. And if you know Russian sign language, you get some. You understand some of it. Or if you know Ukrainian sign language, you get all of it. But doubtful that you do. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed On the Waterfront, and we will see you next week for the farewell.